All right, so let's settle in. Welcome to our meditation time. It is an honor to get to spend these few minutes in this present moment alongside you and each of us with ourselves. And so as we've entered into the present moment, let's just really honor that even more with paying attention to our breath. We've shown up, we've reminded ourselves of the time, we've gotten into this comfortable seated position. So now just connect to that in-breath and that out-breath and allow it to nurture you, to ground you, and to really allow you just to anchor into this moment. And just feel as you're breathing in this familiarity. Sometimes our breath happens throughout the day without us even realizing, but when we pause and we intentionally focus on the breath in and the breath out, there is this true familiarity. There's comfort there. It's like this old friend has found its way to you. And here we are, breathing and being. And so I would invite each of us just to kind of check in physically. See how you feel from this day, from this week so far. Just get a sense of what have you brought to this moment? What have you brought to that seat where you are? And as you reflect and you notice, don't do it with judgment. The most beautiful gift of our meditation practice is this true awareness of this is how we are right now. And then as we sit and as we breathe and as we become more anchored to the present moment, things will shift. Sometimes they are subtle, tiny little increments, and sometimes they are big. But things will shift. So just stay connected to that in-breath, that out-breath, that place where you have found yourself today, physically, mentally. And what I'd like to do for these few minutes that we have is focus on the idea of our nourishment. I've really been sitting a lot lately with the topic of suffering. What it looks like in my own life, what it looks like in my world, how it's portrayed, how it's dealt with, how it's talked about on social media and in the news. So I've really been sitting with this idea of suffering. And so today what I'd like to think about is how do I nourish myself in a way that suffering doesn't take a foothold in my life? And so I went back to look at just the actual definition, the meaning of suffering. And if you break it down, it actually means it's a conscious endurance of pain or distress. So listen to that again. Suffering, a conscious endurance of pain or distress. And when I saw that, it really stuck with me, this idea of conscious, meaning I know that it's happening. I'm aware of it. And I understand that each of us, we have experienced things in our life that are traumatic and that are difficult and that hurt and that disappoint and that cause pain. But suffering is something that we can do something about. We can't change a health diagnosis. We can't change the loss of someone important to us. We can't change a disappointment in our professional lives. We can't change those things. But we can shift how we sit with the suffering that's associated with this. Thich Nhat Hanh says that it's all a matter of nourishment. Are you going to nourish the thing that caused you the suffering in the first place? Or are you going to nourish your capacity to come through it? And I understand that some acts in life are big. They cripple us. They make us want to just retreat and hide and burrow down. But what he's taught us in his very wise and thoughtful way of sharing lessons is that if you do that, you're nourishing the suffering. You're nourishing this endurance of the pain and the distress. Why not instead nourish your capacity to heal? It doesn't mean you're going to heal the thing, the act, the problem, the situation, but you're going to begin to work toward healing for yourself. I've heard that in so many different contexts in the last couple of days, and it's just been a reminder that the healing comes from within. And if we're not careful, so can the suffering. We can actually nourish the suffering and create the pain and make it greater than it ever was. So instead, let's nourish the healing. Nourish our capacity to breathe, to shift our perspective, to recognize and regulate our emotional responses. And also, let's nourish our perspective. Because the one thing that is consistent in every bit of teaching that I study when it comes to suffering is a reminder of its impermanence. I know sometimes it feels like it goes on forever. But then we get to a new point in life and we look back and we think, it wasn't forever. So rather than thinking about all the things we've endured to this point, let's choose to do something different from this moment on. Let's interrupt those old habits. Let's interrupt those patterns. We will still have disappointments. And we will still experience pain. But I want to choose to nourish my capacity to heal myself as I go through the disappointments and as I walk through the pain. And I encourage you that you have the capacity to do the same. So I want to just take us just through a guided meditation within this meditation that I hope will help to secure our understanding of just what this capacity that we have is like. And so if you feel comfortable where you are, either lying down or seated, I would invite you to bring your left hand and just place it right in the center of your torso, kind of above your belly button and below your heart. And just let that hand rest there. And then if it feels right, let the right hand come a little higher right there in heart center. The two spots where our hands rest are our two containers of energy that have to do with our love and compassion and our strength. So what if, as we go through whatever trial is next, maybe even tomorrow, what if we could build the capacity of these two parts of us? Our capacity to love and show compassion to ourselves, and our capacity to build up our strength. So I'm going to choose to leave my hands here. You can do that. You can let them rest. But even if your hands aren't there, just keep this visual in your head of those two spots, your heart center, and right there, in this power part of you, your solar plexus. And then take a deep breath in and just feel how that area begins to rise and it's filled with expansiveness, potentiality. And then exhale and feel how everything relaxes. And then breathe in and feel it grow and expand. And then exhale. Feel it relax. One more time, breathing in, feel the growth and the expansion. And then exhale. Feel the release. And then if your hands are still there, you can allow them just to rest and still just feel that sensation. And I'd like us to use our breath as the anchor for building this capacity. Breathing in, I am filled with love and compassion and strength. And breathing out, I'm learning how to release. Breathing in, I am filled with love and compassion and strength. And breathing out, I'm learning how to release. And breathing in, I am filled with love and compassion and strength. And breathing out, I am learning how to release. You see, one is a mindset. I'm saying it as if it is true. I am filled with love and compassion and strength. And I believe, and I've seen this in my life enough, that if I say it enough, I'll convince myself of its truth. I'll believe it. And then that breathing out, it tells you that it's a process. I'm learning how to release. It's filled with grace, and it's filled with patience, and it's filled with flaws probably and shortcomings. But I'm learning. I'm learning how to release. And so let's just sit for just the next little bit. And maybe you can still kind of feel that sensation of that heat where your hands were, or that heat when you felt the breath moving through that part of your body. Picture the love and the compassion and the strength. Those two containers filled from your heart and from your power center. And then remind yourself that you are a work in progress and you're learning how to release. Let's use the breath as our anchor, and let's just sit through this present moment one at a time. Suffering is a conscious endurance of pain or distress. Meditation is a practice of making us conscious and aware. What if we use our practice to stay alert and aware and conscious of the things that we're bringing in and the things that we're sending back out? The pain will come again. The trials will be many. The hurt will happen. But I will choose to believe that I am filled with love and compassion and strength. And I'll remind myself that I'm learning how to release. I want to nurture my capacity. I don't want to nurture the suffering. Think about that for yourself. Choose. Believe that you are worth it. And then begin to notice a shift. Again, sometimes it is small, tiny increments. And sometimes it is really big. But all of those are part of our growth. They're all meant to be seen and celebrated. Believe in your compassion, your love, and your strength. And continue learning to release. Namaste.